Okay, so escape time and safety margin. Basically, your safety margin, your insurance policy, if you will, it's simply the time you estimate it'll take the fire to spread to your location, okay, whether you're in an apparatus or on foot, minus the time it's going to take you to get away from it. And it needs to be an absolute positive number. Okay, so what I mean by that is that you need to have a buffer of time for when you make that decision to disengage, to get into your safety zone. You're not going to have the fire burn up to you or whatever the situation is, and then you pull the pin and you have no time, because what's going to happen, and we saw it in all these fires again, is that as the peak burning period approaches, the day gets longer, day 13, whatever it is, firefighters are tired, so it's going to take them longer to move. Look at that engine, or the video from the canyon fire in the engine. Like, I kind of get the impression that those guys and girls were probably pretty tired, like just in their voices, and they're stressed out, like the stress factor alone, right? Like, are they like on their top game at that point in time? Probably not. So it's going to take them longer to do these things. So again, and also the safety time, the margin will increase as the peak burn period approaches and through that, and obviously that is a potential trigger point. So some considerations. I've seen that anything below 5 minutes for your safety margin is a trigger point. I think we both feel pretty confident that we'd suggest significantly more than that. 5 minutes is not a lot of time, especially when you think that it took 10 minutes to maybe move 500 yards in the canyon fire. So I would do that. So, and again, the margins are going to change through the day. Okay, so again, we're back to that situational awareness, knowing what the fire is doing, constantly assessing and reassessing.
I think it's good to note that if we retreat at an appropriate time, it allows us the opportunity to return. If we get below our safety margin and now we're scrambling out of there, now everyone, you don't have that big boost of confidence to, once our condition goes from a defensive spot, we need to quickly get back into that offensive mindset now to do perimeter control, to be able to protect those structures. But if you just squeaked out of there by the, with zero time left over, there's not a lot of confidence to re-engage. So if we disengage tactically and then re-engage appropriately, that gives us the opportunity to do it all with confidence.
Good point. Okay, so obviously firefighter decisions errors are what we're trying to avoid here. So it's all about the whole decision making. As a leader, as an engine boss, your decision making and your communication of those decisions using good SA, good intelligence, all the experience, resources provided to you are going to be absolutely critical. In terms of last resort survival, again, like for us to get to this point, there's been a change. There's always a change of causation in kind of tragedy fires. But if you do find yourself in a last resort, last ditch, all their options have been are lost. There's a few things you can think about, like the location of where you're going to shelter. Okay, like obviously, if there's rocky outcrops, dirt roads, ditches, things like that, low points, some features, again, boulders away from where you think the primary fire concentration will be. Ditto for the terrain and your orientation, in relation to where the fire front may be. Your PPE, you want to protect your airway. Okay, most of the people that have died on fires don't die from the gases like we do in structure fires. It's the superheated air that burns. It causes basically like a choke reflex and very quickly lose consciousness. It's the heat, the convective heat, that kills firefighters. So get low into the ground, dig a hole, bandana, whatever it is. You need to protect your airway. And then we saw, I just mentioned it because the Americans obviously deploy shelters and things like that. We don't use them here, but you'll see in a lot of the training videos that it's a mandatory requirement on their fire lines. Burn-offs, things like, that's burning off, creating an area black, which we talked about. Again, not something that we typically would see or do, but again, if all their options fail, it's something to think about. Okay, we're going to finish off. I got a quick case study on the twist fire, and the reason why we emphasize the twist fire in this course is because it's so freaking close to us. Like, it could happen here very easily. Again, the fuel types, the terrain, all that kind of stuff. So let's watch this quickly.
Thank you. Break with crew 4-3, engine 642, Met Out Fire, go.
Engine 642, go ahead.
We'll make some official calls on the phone, but if you could contact your division direct, if you're able to disengage from Black Cannon, priority IA, let's get you rolling to Twist River Road. Elbow Coulee Junction.
If we could get Force 851 en route as well to help with evacuations in front of the fire. I copy that. And, yeah, Wenatchee, I got a list of air resources en route.
Air Attack 84 Lima, I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of the switch of frequency to the DNR in Okanagan, and I have that frequency if you're ready to copy.
We're sending all the folks over Buttermilk and down Libby at this point in time. I've been advised the wind has shifted and now the fire is moving over Elbow Coulee towards the east-northeast direction. On the Swift River fire on the east.
That was broken. Just to confirm, there has been an entrapment on incident 721. It's being coordinated through the DNR Okanagan. Did you say that you needed to order life flight, or it's been ordered already?
All life flight and satellite services have been requested through.
Wednesday morning's forecast for August 19th, 2015 for the area around Twist, Washington called for temperatures in the low 90s, humidity in the mid-teens, and a Haines index of 5. The forecast for the Twist area reflected breezy and unstable conditions, and winds were generally expected to shift to the west or northwest with the passage of a thermal trough. It was yet another forecast that did not call for any real chance of moisture. The grasses in the Twist River Valley showed the bleach blonde look of severe drought. The sage and brush were the distinct dark green that borders on brown and was going to be another hot August day. The colors of late summer had returned to the Methow Valley and the hills that make up the lower end of the Twist River drainage. 10 miles south of the North Cascades Highway, the upper end of the Twist River flows out of Twist Lake, nestled among peaks 25 miles west and 6,000 feet above the town of Twist. About a quarter of the way up the drainage from Twist lies Woods Canyon Road. The narrow road winds its way less than a mile up a draw on the north side of the Twist River. The grass of the broader Twist Valley transitions to timber near Woods Canyon, and houses are interspersed throughout the ponderosa pines and bitterbrush, which was equally dark green in the historic dry spell for the area. Unlike the easily discernible grass to timber transition, the houses in Woods Canyon sit inside an invisible, overlapping interagency fire and emergency service response area. It is a location in north central Washington that's covered by 3 dispatch centers, one for federal lands, one for state and private lands, and the local 911 dispatch center. Areas of overlapping or intermixed jurisdiction like Woods Canyon are not uncommon across the West, given proximity of private, state, and federal lands. Incident responders in these areas of wildland-urban interface generally understand that this can delay or complicate radio communication and increase complexity during incident management. It is against this backdrop of terrain, weather, fuels, jurisdictional boundaries, and houses that the smoke report was called in to the Okanagan County Sheriff's Department at 12:23 p.m. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, multiple responders ordered engines, water tenders, crews, dozers, helicopters, retardant planes, and a supervisory aircraft called Air Attack through their respective dispatch procedures. As with all wildfires, responders that Wednesday afternoon began applying their training to manage the rapidly escalating numbers of resources headed towards the fire. First on scene, the local fire chief assumed command of the fire. He quickly recognized it was too dangerous to engage along Woods Canyon Road with the limited number of resources that had arrived at this point, and ordered them to work the heel of the fire near the highway. The chief then drove up Woods Canyon Road to evacuate residents. Within the hour, the fire chief was joined on the fire by Forest Service and Washington DNR personnel and established a unified command structure. They verbally agreed on the objectives of life first, then property, and planned to anchor and flank the fire. Recognizing they were limited on personnel possessing qualifications above single resource boss, they assigned individuals as supervisors for each flank and called these people left and right flank points of contact. As the plan began to take shape, the fire was running uphill to the northwest, aligned with the wind and slope. Given this fire activity, the left flank was the priority and resources were assigned there first. The left flank resources worked direct fire line near a house and spent their time catching spot fires. The left flank point of contact worked buckets and coordinated structure protection. On the right flank, resources conducted a small briefing as they watched the backing fire from a driveway a short distance from the staging area up Woods Canyon Road. They decided they would be their own lookouts, assigned a tactical frequency to use for communication, and identified an escape route and safety zone down the road to the staging area near the highway. Some of the crew members had come from another fire, and they remembered the briefing there included a weather forecast about a predicted wind shift. Direct line with heavy equipment was assessed on the right flank, and a small group of 3 worked the dozer higher up Woods Canyon. As with many complex initial attack fires, information was lost due to the emerging complexity of the incident. The dozer group's movements up Woods Canyon was not clear to all firefighters involved. While the dozer pushed line where it could, crew members of Engine 642 worked the fire edge and spots near a house towards the mouth of Woods Canyon. Their lead was scouting and identifying places for the helicopter to drop water. This map illustrates the general location of resources across the fire around 1430. From a firefighter's perspective, it illustrates a normal response to any wildland-urban interface fire across the west in similar conditions. The responders on TWISP sized up the fire, ordered resources based on their expectation of an active fire, evacuated public, addressed lookouts, communications, escape routes, and safety zones, then communicated and engaged in implementing the plan. Later, they reacted to the emerging fire by adapting the plan as conditions changed. At 1445, air attack became visible overhead on the left flank. The smoke column was shifting. Shortly after, on the right flank, the wind moved from the southeast to the southwest and felt a bit stronger. The fire's direction of spread changed and moved towards the right flank structures. It was described later as ripping or spreading rapidly, and some had never seen fire move like it did that day through the brush along Woods Canyon Road. The right flank point of contact told all resources on the east flank to head to their safety zone. He noticed Engine 642 driving up the road towards him, whistled at them, and directed them to head down the road towards the safety zone. 642 turned around in place and was the first engine to head down. The fire's sound was described like a TV tuned to static and turned full blast. 2 more engines followed Engine 642 down the road, and their crews could not hear anything as they drove. They saw a tree explode with fire, and day turned to night as the fire reduced their visibility to near zero. All they could see was a red glow and smoke as they drove through several waves of fire to get down the road. Their steering wheels were hot to the touch, and they wondered whether their windows were going to explode as they focused on keeping the left wheels in the ditch to help guide them on their way down. The 3-person dozer group took refuge from the heat in a garage, while another engine tried to protect the dozer and garage using their bumper-mounted water turret from inside the cab. When everything was on fire and the only thing they could see were the skeletons of the trees burning, the engine crew saw a small opening in the fire and started driving out. Little by little, they drove through what they described as a barrel of fire down Woods Canyon Road. As metal started to fall from the roof and windows began to break, the 3 firefighters from the dozer group left the garage and ran by the burning house to the road to deploy under 2 fire shelters. When they looked back, they saw the house and garage were engulfed in flames. The 3 remained here through several retardant drops. Eventually, drivers were able to reach them. Near the bottom of Woods Canyon, a firefighter ran down the road yelling for help. He was badly burned. He was the only survivor from engine 642. The engine had gone off the road in Woods Canyon. 642 never made it to the safety zone. In the roughly 2.5 hours firefighters worked this fire, they were faced with many operational challenges. The same challenges firefighters across the West face every summer. It is clear that the firefighters had good intentions and placed safety as a high priority. They drew from their training and past experiences to make the best decisions they could. But this story still ends in tragedy. The question now becomes why. It's a question that leads to many more questions. How do we build a learning culture? In what ways and to what extent are the conditions we observed at Twist River common to firefighting operations? Do they represent normal work? How do we prepare to respond to sudden changes that can take place during a fire? How do we recognize, make sense of, and communicate those sudden changes? How do we fight fires differently if there are structures in the area? Should we as an organization and a nation reconsider our tactics in the wildland-urban interface? When should we go from life and property to life then property? Whether you are a wildland or structure firefighter, dispatcher, agency administrator, or member of the public, this story involves you. In this ongoing story, you must resist the urge to think that this could not happen to you. You must not allow yourself to become tone deaf to the indicators of a severe fire season. You must discover the complexity of the system that drives events on all of our wildland fires. You must help weigh the risk to firefighters' lives against the risk of losing a home. Each summer, smoke will continue to appear on the horizon. You must not forget this fire, the memory of those who died, or the stories and lessons from those who survived it. Like the uncertainty involved in suppressing any wildland fire, there is no certain mechanism that will trigger this cultural learning. In order to understand this incident from many perspectives, gain a deeper knowledge of this fire, and participate in continued learning from this tragic event, we invite you to join us at the following website.
Okay, so that's a pretty moving documentary, obviously. I'm curious to hear your observations. Yes, Dave?
I have a question, and you might know the answer to this from your extensive research. Is how many of firefighter fatalities happen in that initial operating period or that initial couple operating periods before IAPs and weather reports and that extra level of situational awareness becomes available?
I don't know.
No?
I have never come across that breakdown. I'm sure it exists, but I don't know. But I think that any time where we're in a big rush, and this really pertains to us as structural firefighters, we're rushing out there without the proper safeguards, our laces, our 10-18s, we're not conscious of that stuff. I think our probability of having a tragic outcome increases like tenfold. Yeah. So, and there's also fires too, which I know our wildfire friends could tell us, like, I mean, you can be on a fire and all of a sudden a front comes in, the fire blows up, becomes a different fire. Or the fire behavior changes radically. It could be 3-4 days, a week, whatever. I think back to Terrace Mountain in 2009, how we thought that fire was like in the bag, and all of a sudden So, yeah, good question. I'm sorry, I haven't had time to go that far into the stats.
This being an initial operating period, clearly there wasn't that level of situational awareness about the coming weather change and whatnot.
Yeah.
That we would have if it was several operating periods in and you had an IEP and a proper briefing at the beginning of the day and a weather update throughout the day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that fire? That video? No? Pete?
Just maintaining it as you're responding to that first arrival crew, you want to hit it hard, quickly. So, it's like Dave was saying, that you don't really have that chance to maybe develop some of those things that you would if it was in the second stage or third stage, but you want to hit it hard early, and I think that's probably what happened there is they're thinking, let's get this done now, and hopefully we can stop it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of agencies involved. I mean, obviously around the states they have different federal levels of of land and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, we've all been on fires, like even just other departments, mutual aid. I mean, like just the communication aspect. I mean, somebody may not have this TAC channel or that command channel or OFC this or that. Like just that whole, you can see if you look at this and stand back a little bit and look at all we've talked about this morning, all the different factors that can come into play there. And I mean, like the video says, like these are people that are, have been out before, like they have all their safety stuff to their best of their abilities in place, and these things still happen. So, it's, and it kind of ties in with my last slide here. With the bottom line, no rules, standards, policies, checklists, or anything is going to ensure your safety on the fire line if you're not doing your part as an engine boss to maintain your situational awareness, to take advantage of the tools that you have, the training you have, and then communicating that out to your staff. Okay, it all comes down to you at the end. Okay, so session 3, what we've covered, the safety margin paradox, trigger points, the ability to visualize and identify fire behavior, safety zones and TRAs, of course, LACEs. We've also talked about maintaining throughout this whole course the importance of situational awareness, anticipating fire behavior, using the proper strategy and tactics and the tools available to you, making decisions about when to engage the fire and when to withdraw or pull back, and then, of course, establishing good safety zones and escape routes. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.